Now this is just going to be an eye-opener on front end, back end, and full stack development, right? My target is to make sure that you understand the concept of all these things. They are not complicated. You understand? I won't be going, there are some packages here, software here, that I won't be going deep down into their explanation. There will be other videos for them. You understand, right? But I just want you to understand the concept of full stack, front end, back end. Now, what is front end development? If you look at front end development, front end, the word front, something in front, it focuses on the interface. It focuses on the development of the environment you can see, the superficial environment. That's front end development. Front end development involves creating user interface, UI, and user experience. If you have heard of UI UX development, UI means user interface. Take note, UI, user interface. This is it here, UI, user interface, and user experience of a website or application. The part users directly interact with. So I'm sure you're having a very clear understanding. When we say technologies, it now has to do with the languages involved, the framework / libraries, the tools. Over time, we'll be going into what we mean by React, Angular, Vue.js, and Svelte, and all those ones. But for now, it's just for you to understand the concept of front end and back end development. So over time, we will be dealing with each of these packages one by one. So what are the things you need to develop user interface and experience? Majorly the environment and how you interact with it. That's when you open a website, for example, what are the things you see? The fossa where you can write your name, the things you can read on the website, the color of the environment, the color of the buttons, the positioning, the boxes, the large ones, the small ones, the design, the beauty of the environment. You understand? And how you can easily access different parts of the environment. That is now the user experience. The user interface has to do with the beauty, how attractive it is, how appealing it is, and how you can easily interact with it to satisfy what you visited the website for. That's the user experience and the user interface. So when we say user interface, user experience, it's not as if there is a software called, many people make this mistake, it's not as if there is a software called UI or UX. UI means your user interface, the interface you're going to use. Every website has UI. Any platform you open, software or PowerPoint has its own UI. UI is just the interface, that environment you are seeing. The user experience is how that environment satisfies what you visited it for. You understand? At least at the level of the superficial level. You understand? So from the superficial into the internal level. So UI UX is user experience, and UI is user interface, and UX is user experience. So these are the technologies associated with the front end. So when we say front end development, don't be scared of that statement. The simple meaning is what you can see, as how what you can see once you open a website or any platform or software, how what you can see is designed, and how the interactivity, I don't know if there's any English like that, and what you can see is designed. The language is commonly associated with this user experience and interface. Like, I think they are focusing more on website here, because the language you can see here, hypertext markup language, CSS, JavaScript. So hypertext markup language works for the structure, CSS the styling, the beauty. The structure means, okay, fine, hypertext markup language, where you are going to place the box, the heading, the header, the footer, the boxes, the pictures, while you are going to structure them. Then the beauty, the coloring and everything. How should it be glossy, or should it be just plain color, or the color combination? That's where CSS comes in. Then JavaScript, how you can interact, the functionality, how you can click a button to move to another part of the environment. Then the frameworks, the libraries, we are going to be studying more. There will be other videos more on React, on frameworks and libraries, and those are separately, to go deep, because I want to make sure that I deal with them individually. We have React, we have Angular, Vue.js, and Svelte. Then the tools involved Webpack, Babel, Bootstrap, Tailwind CSS. Now, responsibilities. What are the responsibilities of a front end, or of a front end developer, or developing a front end? Designing and developing user interfaces, ensuring responsive design for various devices, of course, optimizing user experience, of course, managing user interactions and animations, of course. Those ones are clear enough. Now we have back end. Now back end is the back control. Back end development focuses on the server side of a website or application, handling the data storage. So back end is okay, fine. All the data for whenever you whenever you open a website, and you want, maybe say, a website that is related to maybe okay, you want to execute a command, there is an amount of stuff that are stored on that website from which you withdraw information to execute command. Are you understanding? Take for example, now if you open Excel, all these codes for commands, you understand, like sum and all that with brackets, they are stored somewhere, so that when you are executing those commands, it is the backend that will tell the front end that I recognize this code and this is the meaning. So when it is arranged this way, this is what it means. You understand? Like if you type, I think on Excel, I think if you type now and you put bracket close, bracket open, it will give you the date. So why on your own interface, the interactivity there is that, okay, when you get to Excel environment, for example, right, you will see that it has a table, a natural table built into it. That's the interface. You understand? And the interactivity there is that you can place boxes, you can select, you can write. Now the interactivity now is that there are some certain functions you can write. They are like codes. Take for example, if you write something like on Excel, now bracket close, bracket open, and you click enter, that already is part of the interface and the interactivity. But what makes it function, if you click enter, it will give you the present date. It is the back end that will tell the front end that, look, this has been registered with me as a code to give the present date. So when someone types it, you understand, I will send the present date to you, then the front end will now display it. Are you understanding? So the back end has so much things that have been stored in it, so that when you now press all these functions in the front end, the front end will link up with the back end. You understand? And through that, the expected response will be generated. That's why you are asked to learn different functions, like all these sum, multiplication, addition functions. Sum, subtraction, addition. There are different codes or functions for them. Formula, they call them formulae actually. Different formula for them on Excel. So when you have to cram those formula, they have been registered at the back end, stored at the back end. You understand? Then also, when you also save a file, are you understanding? The back end recognizes that this file has been saved, this data has been saved. You understand? Just like the one Oracle that they use in the Lagos State system to pay people salaries. You understand? It's a database also. It has been saved. You understand? If you need to check, it will be saved in the back end. But if you now want to display it from the front end, you can bring it out, check it, and if you need to make adjustments on a particular worker, you understand, for a particular worker, then you can make your adjustments. You understand? Maybe say let's say the person has been upgraded or promoted. You understand, that kind of thing. So the back end focuses on the server side of website, where information, both ready-made formulae information for executing functions and stored data, the data you store on it are stored there. You understand? So if you now want to execute, back end will begin to relate with front end. You understand? So it is the interactivity and the interface you now use to execute those functions that have been stored, using those functions that have already been stored in the back end. So as you can see, focuses on the server side of a website or application, handling data storage, processing and security. So languages involved: Node.js, Python, Java. Okay, Node.js is only, yes, anything .js is JavaScript. Node.js is also JavaScript. Python, Java, Ruby, PHP, C#. Frameworks involved: Express, Django, Flask, Spring Boot, and okay, Ruby on Rails. Okay, databases: MySQL. Okay, these are places where you store people's information, where you can store information. PostgreSQL, MongoDB, SQLite. Then servers: Apache, Nginx, Microsoft IIS. Then APIs, we are going to delve into all these studies. What are APIs, what are servers, what are Java bases? So it's good we take it gradually so that we'll be able to understand each individually, because one thing about programming, what makes it complex is that if you try to model it up, you will get it wrong. So managing databases and server, developing APIs for communication between client and server. Now implementing security measures, managing user authentication and authorization. Now full stack development, of course, involved both front end and back end. So involves both front end and back end, making developer capable of handling the entire application stack, entire web application stack. So that is clear enough. So can you see front end here explained, back end here? What else do we have? Okay, the same thing. Designing complete web applications, those are the responsibilities. Managing both user interface and server side, the logic, deploying and maintaining applications, collaborating with designs and development teams for full functionality. So the concept you need to understand here is front end development is for interface and your own interaction on the interface. Back end is as stored some ready-made functions or formulae. Then also you can store information. You as a user can store information on it. Then when you now need to execute the front end, you now relate the front end through your own writing of those formulae or functions, or trying to execute in the process. Whatever you put on the superficial interface will interact with whatever has been stored in the back end to carry out an operation. Are you understanding? And of course, full stack is just combination of front end and back end. So I advise you can dig deep more on all this. Then more videos will be coming on all these tools. What are tools? What are frameworks? We're going to be explaining frameworks. We're going to be explaining tools. Understand? APIs. What's an API? What are servers? There's some of you might already know this already, but it's good we dive deeply into what's an API. We have RESTful API, we have GraphQL, we have WebSockets. What are servers? Some people, as simple as servers, some people might not really know. Some people use servers every day, they don't even know. What are databases? What's a database? Then what is a framework? Then what are tools? Understand? So we're going to dive more into that. So see you next time on this amazing channel. Thank you very much.